I think in high school, I saw what was on TV, which really makes it look dramatic and exciting. But at the time, it was more of like the detective angle. And I thought that would be really cool. But then in high school, I had a social studies teacher named Mark Campbell, and he made everybody in his class, as an assignment, do research on what they thought they wanted to do. At the time, I thought I wanted to be an FBI agent. And so my assignment included doing research, looking into everything from where you work in the country to what kind of work you do on a daily basis. And when I did that, I realized that maybe being an FBI agent was not what I wanted to do. I'm sure there's great positions in the FBI, but I found out that when you start, they really place you where they want you. So if I don't want to live in one state, really, I can't have a decision. I mean, they're going to put me where they want me. And I don't think they get the excitement on a daily basis in most of the positions at the FBI. They do a lot of desk work. So I realized I wanted more exciting day-to-day adventure than sitting behind a desk. And then I realized that maybe local law enforcement was what I really wanted. I just didn't know it until I did that research. After I got my bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, I went to the Wisconsin Police Corps, which was a federally funded program out of Fort McCoy. So I lived on the military base for 16 weeks, and we had wonderful training there at the State Patrol Academy that made me certifiable. But part of going through that program was an agreement that they place you where they want you. So I was placed at the Green Bay Police Department. I'm going to start by saying I work with really great people. I work with a lot of great men and a lot of great women. And really 10% of police work has to do with how strong you are physically. And it's not a secret that men are stronger than women. They're built differently. Their muscle mass is different. They have different hormones. But the rest of policing has to do with communication, empathy, multitasking. And where you make up in strength as a woman, you can supplement that with being tactical, knowing how to use your tools, when to use your tools, and being a good communicator sometimes can prevent you from having to, you need strength. Sometimes being a female officer going to a call can be more challenging. You know that some men might be more likely to resist because they feel that they're gonna outfight you, and that happens. But there's also cases where I've seen male officers and male firefighters try to communicate with a male who didn't want to go get help that he needed. And he was under the influence, so he wasn't thinking rationally. And he said, I'm going to fight you, I'm not going cooperatively. And then, a female officer came in and said, we don't want to fight with you, we want to get you help, and was able to communicate to the point that the male ended up standing up and walking with her into the rescue squad. So really, there's a benefit to women too, being in this position. Like I said, we can sometimes express empathy more than some men. So it's important to be well-rounded and bring a sense of, sometimes being a woman, you get a different perspective and you can talk your way through situations. Also, I used to have a coworker who I rode with on a somewhat regular basis in my unit before he retired, and we would take turns. One day he would drive the squad car, the next day I would drive the squad car. And it's funny because it was a nice day, we had the windows down and I was driving, and we pulled up at a stop sign or a stoplight, and actually a male pulled up next to us and our windows were down, and my coworker looked over at him because the guy stopped in a manner that it seemed like he was trying to get his attention. And the citizen turned to my male coworker and said, "Shotgun, huh?" Like it was strange that a woman was driving a car, like that this male officer would allow a female officer to drive. And that became a joke, and he got the nickname Shotgun because it was where, if it was two male officers, or if I would have been riding in the passenger seat and the male officer would have been driving, people wouldn't have thought twice. It would have been normal, or people wouldn't have even thought how strange that a woman is driving a squad car. So there's a lot of funny stories. Packer games were challenging for me. When I first started in 2004, I was really young, and I don't drink alcohol, I've never been drunk, and so that was very eye-opening, all the people that are not sober at the Packer games. And now they have metal detectors, and they had wands for a while, but when I first started they didn't. So when the gates opened 2 hours before the game, you're doing pat downs for 2 hours, which consist of, obviously you're standing up and you pat people and all the way down to their ankles. And there's a lot of drunk guys that were really inappropriate, and at the time there weren't a lot of female officers, so a lot of them would see a woman officer and purposely come through my line and say inappropriate things or do inappropriate gestures, during the pat down. So that was difficult for me, especially new. Now I've been here long enough where if we went back to pat downs and I had some male doing something inappropriate, I would have no problem saying, you know what, dude, you can go to someone else. Where at the time I had great guys who I worked next to, and when citizens would say things inappropriate, they would step in. When I went through the Wisconsin Police Corps in 2004, I was the last class that they had before the program was eliminated because of financial reasons. And there was only one other female in my class, and we lived together on base. It was all men, one other female and me, and I was awarded the top shooter. We had shooting competitions for quite a while. That was part of our training, and we used both long guns and handguns. And I outscored all of the men in my class. So at graduation time, I was awarded the top shooter award, and I was the only female who's ever been awarded that, which is pretty significant to me. I think that there's a assumption that just because you're a woman, you can't handle a gun. And I had no training growing up. I didn't grow up in a hunting family. My parents didn't have guns in the house, but I came into Fort McCoy and wowed everybody. I also was awarded a service award with Valor from the police department, and that was from an incident years ago when I was a patrol officer. At night, they dispatched me to the Leo Frigo Bridge for a suicidal woman who had already stepped over the ledge, and there was like a catwalk, I guess, or a beam, I should say, on the other side. And at the time, I was coming up from the west side of Green Bay, so I parked in the southbound lanes and had to cross the 4 lanes of traffic in the dark. And in between the two lanes of each direction, there's a gap. People don't know that, but it's frightening to look down and it's water between the barrier. So I jumped that and tried to talk to her into coming back on our side of the ledge. And she didn't want to. She was not in a good place mentally. And I ended up just grabbing her and holding on. And then she ripped my radio off. And another officer got there and we tried to force her over the edge and her pants ripped. By that time, of course, people had stopped and were witnessing what was happening. But in the end, we got her over back and got her the help she needed. Since then, I have gotten a thank you card from her saying that her life has turned around and she's so appreciative that she's here to appreciate her grandkids and good things in life.